On March 27, 2020, Legend Story Studios released the second Flesh and Blood set, Arcane Rising, fundamentally changing the game forever with the introduction of arcane damage. Before, combat boiled down to one player attacking and the other choosing cards from their hand to block that damage. Simple. However, arcane damage functions completely different. No longer does the block value of your cards matter, it's now the pitch that counts. And don't think that you can just throw cards away to guard against that, lightning bolt! You also need access to the ability Arcane Barrier. This ability comes on many cards, most of which are equipment pieces. When facing heroes like Viscerai Arcano, players will swap out armor just to run a card like No Rune Gloves that only have the one ability of Arcane Barrier. But sacrificing armor just for the ability to defend yourself can be quite detrimental for a lot of heroes, and so what if there was a way to defend against arcane damage while still being able to keep your normal equipment loadout? Well, there is. The super rare Rusted Relic. Only problem is, no one plays it. But why? What makes running this card worse than sacrificing your armor? Let's start with the positives about Rusted Relic. The card is blue, making it a great pitch card, and it costs 0 to play. It's also an item, so unless you're going up against Stromai, you shouldn't need to worry about this being removed. Oh, and I guess that Arcane Barrier part of it is also good. However, that's really where the positives end. One glaring flaw in Rusted Relic is its defense value, or rather lack thereof. Usually it's more correct to choose blues that have 3 block rather than 2, or in the case of the Relic, nothing. But some non-block blues do have useful abilities like Energy and Time Snap Potion, making them worth running a copy or 2 of in a deck. However, other blues, like this Rounds on Me, are chosen specifically for their main ability. Against go-wide decks like Fi, this Rounds on Me can protect upwards of 7 or 8 damage, making it worth running in a blue spot, especially in the sideboard. So why then do people not run Rusted Relic in their sideboard for Wizard and Runeblade matchups if they're willing to do so for other cards? Well, there are 2 more downsides for the Relic, the first being its lack of Go Again. Not having this ability means that the card will have to be played as your last card in a turn. Now, there are a lot of great cards to play at the end of a turn, like the aforementioned Potions, Snatch, and Fog Down, but all of these cards give way more value than the Relic. Getting extra action points and resource, an extra card to arsenal for tempo advantage, or shutting down that annoying Briar player are all typically better than having one Arcane Barrier. And then there's the biggest downside to Rusted Relic. You don't start with it on the field. When you sit down to play against an arcane hero, you have no idea when you're going to need to block a bunch of damage. So while sure, playing the Relic allows you to run all your normal equipment, it's not going to be of any use to you if you die before you play it. Now you could say the same thing about this Rounds on Me, but the difference here is that there aren't any other options to replace that card like there is for the Relic. Simply put, while trading out your armor just to run Arcane Barrier can hinder your deck's own strategy, Rusted Relic is just too inconsistent. It's almost always better to just have the Arcane Barrier equipped at all times, so whether it's turn 1 or turn 12, you know that you'll have the ability to pitch and protect yourself. Which means that the Rusted Relic is most likely to stay just that. A rusted relic of a card that stays in bulk boxes and trade binders for the rest of Flesh and Blood's existence, never to see the light of competitive play.
Huge thank you to all of my supporters. If you'd like to join the Chad Army, you can either become a channel member or join my Patreon with the link in the description. And if it's cards you want, you can use my affiliate link to Red Riot Games to help support me as well.